Hi guys, back again. So today I wanted to talk about practical ways to help you have better boundaries, to able to say no, because if it's not practical, it's not spiritual, and if it's not spiritual, it's not practical. So I think spirituality is about practicality. When I first realised I was a chronic people pleaser and couldn't say no and said yes when I meant no, it was not always easy for me to start developing those habits, and I had to find my way through it so I could start to not keep betraying myself, because that's what it was always about. It was about me betraying myself when I said yes when I meant no, and then hating them, hating myself, resenting them, resenting me, and then causing myself to go around this cycle where I just kept doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different. And I think that is insanity in itself. So I wanted to talk about very practical ways of saying no and how I learned how to consider, take a moment, be in a choice zone, so I get to choose rather than react with my yes when I really meant no. And so, because it did, when you can't say no, it does leave you vulnerable. And I get why people don't want to step outside the door. It's like, well, even as simple as the other day we were at the shop and there was two lovely young gentlemen trying to talk to people about women's breast cancer. And I've actually spoke to those people before in another place that I go to, and got kind of, oh, I love your scarf, come over here, and they get you to talk to them. And I had to be very careful because I'm, I still struggle a little bit. And I think I always will. I think I'm very soft-hearted and very, it's just the way I am. I've had to learn to live with it, but I've got much better at saying no to people like that. And so actually, I remember the time he got me to come over and we talked, and I said, so can I just give a one-off? And no, he wanted me to sign up and make it a thing that you do every month. It just automatically comes out of your bank account. And you're actually giving to probably a good cause. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. But I really wasn't in a position where I wanted to do that. Really didn't want to do that. So I said, oh no, I'm going to leave that. Anyway, we were somewhere yesterday and I could see these two people kind of trying to lure people in, and, we was having a conversation with some people, and, one of them said, oh, do you have to be hard-hearted? And I said, no, I think you just have to be assertive. I don't think you have to change your own heart. I think you have to learn to be more assertive and say no. And I think the more, you've got to start somewhere. Okay, so you've got to start somewhere. And this is all about starting and creating new habits of actually putting yourself at the center of everything, and realizing the reason why you need to learn to say no is for not only your sake, but for your relationship's sake with whoever it is you're saying yes to when you mean no. So if you want to start creating a better relationship with the person that you struggle the most with, and there's usually a few people, usually it's people that are close to you, or even like me in a situation where, with these people, they walk past, and I mean, they're not allowed to shove the jar in your face and shake it now, are they? They have to, but they'll say, and I just very kindly and compassionately go, no, thank you, and walk on by. And I've learned to do that, but it wasn't easy. I feel like I was conditioned, programmed to, meet everyone else's needs, say yes when I meant no, not think about me, think about them, and not want to reject them, as I talked about in the last video. Because when I rejected them, it felt like I felt that rejection because I over-identified with how they might feel. So learning to say no when you're used to be the person that says yes. So first and foremost, it's about the process of change. It's about realizing this isn't working for me. I keep saying yes when I mean no. It's hurting me. It's hurting them. It's hurting this relationship. And if I really care about this relationship and I want it to be better, then I have to stop doing that to myself, to the relationship, and to the other person. So you start to see them whole, healthy and well. We talked about that in another video. But this is about, how do I say no, or how do I kind of do what I really want to do and consider what I really want to do in this moment. And so first and foremost, there's just a couple of really practical things. And for me, I never pick up my phone. If it rings, I mean, there's a lot of crank calls at the moment, so I don't pick up my phone unless I know who's ringing. And even then I might not pick up the phone, if I'm honest, because I really don't like talking on the phone for a start. But also I know if someone just says, do you want to do this? And all of a sudden I'll just say yes. It's like a bad habit that I really struggle with. And so I would not pick up the phone. Doesn't matter who's calling, I would let it go to message bank. And I'll often say to people, and I think I've even got it in my message, please write an SMS message. So even if they leave a message on my phone, an answer phone, I will often message them through text. I really don't like talking on the phone. I mean, I will if I have to. It's just a pet peeve of mine. But anyway, so I never pick up the phone. I always let it go to message. So then I can listen to the message. So someone, oh, do you want to do this? Oh, do you want to catch up? Oh, do you want to go for coffee? Or whatever it is. I can actually take a moment without having to respond. So never picking up the phone, letting it go to voicemail. I generally don't take my diary. I mean, I use a diary. Obviously, you know, I work, I have appointments. I use a physical diary, one that I write in. I don't like the phone. I don't like using it because you've always got it. And the reason behind that is that if someone asks me if they want to do something or if they want to catch up or anything at all, I'll say, look, I need to check my diary and it's not with me. It's at home. So that gives me a secondary out to consider what I actually want. And it gives me that time where do I really want to do this? Is it something I have the time for, the capacity for, the energy for? You know, am I going to say yes when I mean no? And I don't want to do that to myself, don't want to do that to the relationship, and I don't want to do that to them. So I always say, let me check my diary, I'll get back to you. So if someone wants to go away or catch up at the weekend or go out for dinner, I'll always say, leave it, I'll get back in touch with you. And I'll text them, oh yeah, I'm free. Or no, I'm actually not free that day. Or I've already made plans. And so and those plans might be just to spend a day home doing the cleaning. That plan might be just to read my book all day. Just to, because that's what I'd rather do. And that's okay. You're allowed to do what you want to do. You don't have to be going out doing something. That plan is, you might have just planned just stay home and do all your bookwork, or watch TV or binge watch Netflix, or enjoy a lovely meal or go shopping, or it might be something you just want to do on your own. And so I'll always say, I've made plans. I don't tell them and justify what I'm doing or this is my excuse. You don't have to make excuses, and you don't have to justify your no. You just have to realize, no, I really don't want to do that. Now, sometimes you might get asked to do something, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because that person, you end up feeling guilty. Oh, but I'm not doing anything. Maybe just sitting binge watching isn't a good enough excuse for you. Or maybe you don't want to be seen to be selfish, or you perceive that as being selfish. For me, that's about looking after yourself. That's caring for yourself, because it's no one else's job but yours. And the trouble is, we often will we will give that job to other people, and then wonder why they are not looking after us, because it's not their job. It's our job to take care of us. It's our job to figure out what we want, when we want it, do what we need to do to keep us in a place that's okay. So the more we do that, the safer we feel, the less vulnerable we will feel, the less anxious we will feel, the less angry we will feel. And this is why I always say, when you care how you feel, when you really care how you feel, you'll say no instead of saying yes when you mean no. And so this is about your health, your well-being. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. This is all about you and what you need for your well-being. You taking responsibility for your happiness, your peace, your contentedness. It's all about you looking after you, and you deserve it. You're worthy, you're important, you're significant. And this is the rewiring we have to do sometimes, because a lot of us don't think that way or don't feel that way about ourselves. Oh no, everyone else is important. And I have to keep saying yes. So, and in a way, you see, that's where it gets a bit warped, because it's like, well, I'm not safe if I say no to you. And so we say yes thinking it's going to keep us safe, but it doesn't. And we wonder why we don't feel safe, we don't feel content or happy or joyful or peaceful, because it's old pattern that you had to survive childhood, and that's what you did, and now you're holding on to that old pattern that's no longer working for you. It's actually working against you, because you're not responsible for anyone else's emotions but your own. And sometimes you have to hear that over and over and over again until you actually really get it. And when you really understand what you're doing to yourself, when you keep betraying yourself over and over again, you realize that you end up hating yourself. You often end up hating that person. I mean, maybe hate's a strong word for you. Resenting, which is just old anger that's built up over time because you kept saying yes when you meant no. And this is where, let me use this example. Now, obviously, it's not going to work for everyone. Those of us that perhaps, or that aren't in that position where they have partners. I always say to people, especially women, I think, don't ever say yes to sex when you mean no, because you'll end up resenting him or her, whoever it is. And so this works for all genders, the two genders. If you're a man and you keep saying yes and you don't really want it, but you just want to keep them happy, so in your same-sex relationship, it works either way, it doesn't matter. So it's like, if you say yes when you mean no, you are betraying yourself at the deepest of all levels. And this is what gets us into trouble. Now, this is what I want to talk about, because sometimes, and this is, we know that, you probably weren't thinking we were going to talk about this, but let's talk about it. If you don't want to listen to this bit, then you can just stop here. But in regards to sexual relationships, if you say yes when you mean no, you're actually betraying yourself and you're betraying that person, and you will resent them and you'll resent yourself. You really won't like yourself. And this is why you have to stop hurting yourself, because you're doing yourself self-harm. You're also hurting the relationship. You're also hurting your partner. Now, that said, if you know that actually, once you get into it, you'll probably have a really good time. So in a way, by saying no, you're denying yourself. By saying yes, you might, if you've said yes though and you meant no, then you haven't really worked it out. So you have to work it out and come into alignment with your head and your heart. And so sometimes you're not always in the mood, and that's okay. You don't have to be, but you know that kind of, if you get there, you'll probably enjoy yourself. So it's about getting your head and your heart in the same place, coming into alignment. And so, yeah, it might take a bit of effort or energy, but you know what? I'll probably enjoy it when I get there. Now, this is specifically women as well. And I remember when I heard this once many years ago, a sexologist, she said, most women aren't really in the mood, but actually once they get there, they'll probably have a good time. And so how do I talk myself into it? Head, heart, mind, body, soul. So my yes is yes, yes, yes. And my no is no, no, no. So you can't be half-assed. You can't be half-assed about these things. You have to have your whole head and heart in the same place. And so when you say yes, if you're going to say yes, you bring in all those parts and say yes, yes, yes. Heart, mind, body, soul. Yes, I want to do this. In that moment, you are not betraying yourself. You are coming into alignment and getting all the parts in the same space. So my yes is yes, yes, yes. My no is no, no, no. So, and I think that's one example of sometimes when you say no, and sometimes you wish or you want to say yes, but you don't really think you want to say yes. So this is where you get that double-mindedness, that ambiguity about something. That does not work for us as human beings. And, it's one thing I can help people understand is you have to get into alignment with whatever it is. So if you're just, your mate's asked you to go away for the weekend and you go yes, but you don't really want to, you're probably going to go there and feel resentful and not really enjoy yourself. And it's going to come out sideways. Maybe it'll be a bit offish, or you'll be a bit narky, or you'll be spending money you haven't really got, or because you haven't been honest with yourself or with them. And so this is about ultimately learning to be more honest and trusting of self. Trustworthiness is where we're going here. You need to learn to trust yourself. But if you keep saying yes when you mean no, you will formulate a sense of mistrust, which I think causes anxiety and depression and negativity because you are out of alignment within your own being. So you don't pick up the phone. That's one strategy you could use. I'm not telling you what to do. You've got to make your own decisions. These are just a few little tips that I learned along the way. You never take your diary. You never say yes to anything. You always go, oh, hold on a minute. Maybe, I've got a partner, so I'll say, I'll just check what my hubby's doing. See if he's working, because he works all different hours. I'll use that as an excuse not to give an immediate response. I'll go away and say, I'll be honest. I'll go, I'm going to have to check the budget, see a lot of people are very embarrassed about, they don't want to tell people maybe they can't afford it, or they don't want to afford it, or they haven't got the money for that kind of thing. And whereas I'm quite upfront, I'm like, I don't really care what people think. So I'm like, I'll check the budget, see if that can come to that. I've got friends that want to go away and stuff, and perhaps they've got a bit more money than I have, and so they perhaps are always off out and wanting us to come along, and we haven't always got the money to do that. So I have to make sure, is this something I really, really want to do? Am I prepared to spend that money? Have I got that money to spare? Okay, so this is about checking in with yourself, being honest with yourself, being honest with your financial situation, your psychological. Have I got the capacity to be with these people for a whole weekend? Have I got the capacity to cope with this person? Maybe they're quite draining, or maybe it's always about them, or maybe they're someone that takes up a lot of space or drains you of energy. See, when you care how you feel, you kind of understand yourself a bit better. You go, oh God, I'm going to be exhausted. That's not going to be fun for me. Well, why would you put yourself through that? Why? Why would you put yourself through that? Don't put yourself through that. I give you full permission not to do anything you don't really, really want to do, right? Okay, so alignment. Don't say yes when you mean no, but don't say no when you mean yes, like work it out. Sometimes it works the other way. I keep saying no to everything because I'm afraid. And so, it works both ways. So maybe the fear is from, the fear of false evidence appearing real. What if I look stupid? What if I don't enjoy myself? You're fearful of the what ifs, and maybe you feel like, I really would have liked to have done that. And so it can work the other way. It's all really about ambiguity. And it's about realizing that doesn't work. How can I get myself into alignment? Well, I think you can only do that when you really know yourself. And this is why it was a lot easier to say no to stuff when I started to really understand and know myself. Because before that, it was never about me. I didn't know what I wanted, what I needed, what I liked and what I didn't like, because it was never about me. I was trying to keep everyone else happy outside of me. And now I had to learn, I'm important, I'm significant, I'm worthy, and I deserve. And all of that's where the rewiring comes in. And I rewired myself to realize, I am important. It's not all, I'm not here to keep everybody else happy. That's not my job. My job is to keep me happy, and their job is to keep them happy. And when I understood that I was taking responsibility for something that wasn't my responsibility, then that gave me a lot of freedom. It's like, I'm not responsible to keep them happy. That was something I got trained and programmed to think and believe, but it's not true. It was never true. It was never true that I was responsible for their feelings, but that's the sort of thing they said. That's the sort of thing they implied. You make me angry. You make me angry. I'm so disappointed in you. As if it's like all our responsibility because our parents were angry or disappointed or sad, or I never get to see you. So what are the other ones? Don't pick up the phone. Don't take your diary with you. Never respond. Use an excuse. Do whatever it takes for you to not say yes in that moment. I'm going to go away and think about that. So these little catchphrases. That's really interesting. I'll give that some thought and I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. When you get those people that want to, can you put some money in my pot for whatever? Even when you go into the supermarket, and now I've got quite belligerent probably, and here in Australia, sometimes you'll go to the supermarket and it'll come up when you put your stuff in, you pay for it. Do you want to give the extra bit of, so you pay a $10.50, you might have 50 cents, and they'll round it up and that money will go to charity. It says yes or no. No. I'm like, no. Oh my goodness. The people that are ringing you up, do you want to buy this ticket? Do you want to buy that ticket? Crikey, there's always someone coming at you wanting And these days you just press a button, you've subscribed to something you didn't even realize you subscribed to, and it's coming out every month. And they're quite cagey the way they put something. That's why I'm very careful on the phone. I never really sign up to anything because I feel like, unless I've really looked into it, read all the small print. I remember I bought something off Amazon once and they automatically signed me up for their Amazon Prime. And I was, all of a sudden, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was like $10 or $20 coming out of my bank. I was like, how the hell did that happen? And I realized it's because I hadn't ticked a box when I ordered something off Amazon Prime, Amazon. And I was like, what a con. I mean, so you've got to be so careful, haven't you? And I wouldn't have said yes to that. When you fill out these forms and it says, do you want us to send you information? No, I'm not ticking that box. Or I need to tick that box. I don't want all that information because I'm sure these are the people that send your flipping email address to every Tom, Dick and Harry. So you have to learn to say no. You have to learn about yourself. What do you need? What do you want? Know that you're important enough to get your needs met, and know yourself enough to say yes, yes, yes to something, or no, no, no to something, and realize what you're doing to yourself when you don't, and you're ambiguous and you're kind of double. This is why they call that double-mindedness, and that is what causes a lot of pain for a lot of people. Hopefully that makes sense, giving you a few tips. But also, I'll tell you something else you need to do. We did this years ago when I was studying. They made us stand up and say no, because a lot of us are not used to saying no. And remember in the last video, I got you to close your eyes and connect with that no. And it, I know for me, no doesn't always feel as good as yes, right? Yes makes me feel lighter, more energized. No kind of... So I don't really like saying no because it doesn't make me feel good. And I think that's something else you've got to understand. And you've got to practice saying no. And so go around the house and just practice saying no. Imagine someone asks you something. So let's do a little bit before I go. I'm going to ask you some questions. And I want you to say out loud to the camera, like we're doing it now. This is good practice for you. Can you lend me $10? And the only word I want to hear is no, Stella. So that's what I want you to say. No, Stella. Okay, so I'm going to ask the questions. All you're going to say is no, Stella. I'm sorry, can't do that. Or even no, don't apologize. Just say no. Just say no. You've got to get used to saying no. Okay, can you lend me $10? Can you look after my cat? I'm going on holiday. Could you please come around and feed my cat? She's going to die if you don't. Can I park my Jaguar in your car park, in the front of your house because I've got nowhere else to leave it? And you can use it if you want. Here's the keys. Can I do that? Hey, I'm just wondering, do you want to come round on Saturday? Because we're having a party and I'd love you to be there. I'm just wondering, any chance that you could lend me a cup of sugar? I'm baking a cake and I haven't got any. I'm just wondering if you could look after my kids while I nip to the shop. It would just be 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Could you please just come round and look after the kids so I can go out for 10 minutes? Hey, would you mind taking care of the gerbil while we're on holiday? Because, we need someone to look after it and you're only next door. And I'm just wondering, would you mind? It wouldn't be a problem. She literally is no trouble at all. Just put a little bit of water and a little bit of food in her cage. Would you do that for me? Can you do that for me? Will you do that for me? Okay, so what did it feel like to say no? No, 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 no. You have to get used to yourself hearing the no and becoming more used to it. Obviously you can couch it. I'm not saying you'd say this to people. You just say no and walk away. You'd say, oh, no, that's not something I'm able to do. You would couch it. I know that. You would soften the tone of it. It's like I say to people, you can say anything. It's the way you say it. And so when you say no, but you've got to mean it. You've got to be, this is the trouble, when you've got to be in alignment with your no, your body, mind, heart, and soul has to all say the no. Because if you say it like this, no, 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 See, communication is made up of 3 parts: words, tone, body language. So if you kind of like, no, I can't do that, people aren't really listening to what you say. They're watching the way you say it and the tone and your body language. So you might be saying no with your mouth, but actually you're saying, I'm not sure, with the rest of your body, by the tone, by your body language. So by owning your no, you have to fully embody the no to make the no fully embodied. So when you say no, it's no, and they hear it in the tone, they see it in your body language. You don't shrink back down and put your head down and say no. You stand up, you look them straight in the eye, shoulders back, and you say, no, that's not something I can help you with. You could apologize if that's what you want to say. Maybe it will couch it a little bit easier. Maybe they'll receive it a little bit easier. Say, oh, no, that's not something I can help you out with. Sorry. I don't like the sorry. I mean, you can say sorry. It kind of softens it a little bit, but are you really sorry? I know I'm not. I just want to be able to say no and not really care what people think, because that's the problem. You give up your peace, your joy, your contentedness, your happiness because you care way too much what other people think. You need their approval to be okay. It's something you've been conditioned and primed to do your whole life, and you have to start stepping up and practice the no. So as you go about your day, as you go about your whatever you're doing, just practice saying no. Get used to it. Get your body used to saying it and hearing it and feeling it, and take out the sting of it. Doesn't mean anything. And so when someone says no to you, you're not, oh my God, I feel so rejected. I mean, I wouldn't ask people out for coffee in case they said no, because I'd feel rejected. How dumb is that? That's not dumb. It's just fear. It's fear, because I was so afraid. And I realized you have to get to the point where you're just done being afraid. You're just so over being afraid. I was so sick of being afraid of everything, even about asking somebody to come out and have coffee with me. And so when I look back at my younger self, I see how far I've come. And I did that because I had to, because I couldn't keep living like that, where I was too scared just to ask someone out for coffee in case they said no, because I couldn't take a no, because I wasn't able to give a no. And so when you can give a no, you can take a no. And so I became a lot more courageous and brave, and, reached out. And I realized it changed my whole life, because before I was just, stuck indoors, lonely and afraid of everything, even myself. Anyway, I've got to stop there. I could talk more about that. I'm sure there's lots of other things you could do, but maybe if you've got some really good ways, you could share them in the comments. You could let everybody else know, what is it that you use to stop you from saying yes when you mean no? What are some of the skills and things that you've learned along the way? Because there was just a couple in there. And obviously we have to develop our own way of doing this. These are just a few things that I've done along the way that really helped me. Anyway, all for now. And please like, subscribe, and please send this to someone who you know is struggling to say no. And for me, I always tell my clients, get people on board with you. If you've got a friend, and I often say this to them, find someone that you feel safe with and say, look, my therapist is helping me practicing my no's, because I realize that's a big issue for me. I'm wondering if I could practice saying no with you. So if you call me and ask me, is it okay if I just practice my no's on you? Now, a good friend will go, of course. And maybe you can help each other. Maybe they're not great at it either. And so you can learn to give a no and take a no and have someone to practice with. Don't do this with the hardest people in your world. Do it with the more easier people. That's how you start, with the people that you know are going to be okay with your no. And then you build up to the tough ones. This is all a learning curve, and if you start going in with the people that are hardest, you might just get filled with guilt and then revert back and go, oh, that didn't work. So SMART goals. The smart people that you know that you probably can do this with would be great. Anyway, I've got to go. See you now. Bye.